Obviously doing something wrong, did something to my back, so I had to lay off it for a bit.
It's something that I take very seriously, but with my family and with my role of...
Wills left behind by loved ones must be obeyed and carried out as stated. It is exceedingly meaningful to fulfill the last wishes of a deceased loved one, yet King Charles and Camilla refused to carry out this will, resulting in Prince William pleading for his late grandmother's wishes to be carried out. What does this will stipulate that it scares King Charles and Queen Camilla so much that he refuses to obey? Let us find out. The will controversy. The year 2022 ended with enormous grief as the beloved mother of a nation departed, leaving behind a strong legacy and a hefty responsibility on the shoulders of her immediate family members. Queen Elizabeth II was a true queen. During her 70-year reign over England, her leadership changed not just lives but a nation. Yet her name still lives on. After her passing, her will for the next generation, which she hoped would change her country for the better, remained sealed immediately as officiated by the royal family for over 2 centuries. Queen Elizabeth's passing may have come as a shock to many, but she left peacefully without pain. Few people knew about the Queen's final moments on the 8th of September. It wasn't until later in the day that the news was finally announced. 2 days before, with her familiar smile in place, Queen Elizabeth had appointed her 15th and final British Prime Minister, Liz Truss. Then, on the 7th of September, news concerning the Queen's postponement of a virtual Privy Council meeting on the advice of her doctors left the council concerned. Simon Case, the Cabinet Secretary, was informed that the Queen's condition might worsen rapidly. Case then passed the message to Truss, who had just been appointed Prime Minister that day. It kept everybody on their toes, hoping and wishing she would pass that critical time to erase every possibility of an imminent passing. Unfortunately, the departure of the Queen's helicopter before 7 a.m. on the 8th of September to take the Prince of Wales from Dumfries House in Ayr, where he was staying that night, to his mother's bedside alerted them. Prince Charles arrived at Balmoral shortly before 10 a.m. that morning, while the Duchess of Cornwall was driven from nearby Birkhall to join him. The Princess Royal, who was in Scotland on engagements, was already there. Then Case and Truss knew that bad news was just a matter of hours away. Truss had not packed all her clothes to move into Downing Street, so aides were sent to her Greenwich home to get her black clothing. She was still new in office when the palace started to inform key government people. Some ministers walked into their new department only to be told without any ceremony of the Queen's imminent passing. Some indications of the situation at the palace came from the House of Commons, where the Queen is rarely mentioned. It was the first general public to have hints of the Queen's imminent passing through a note passed to the Prime Minister and other ministers at noon. An official statement was released from Buckingham Palace concerning the Queen's deteriorating health. Then came cancellations of scheduled diplomatic meetings and calls, increasing panic. 2 hours later, all senior members of the royal family were on their way to Scotland by air or land. Then, by 6:30 p.m. that day, the announcement of the Queen's demise was released. However, in her death certificate that was made public weeks later, it was revealed that Queen Elizabeth passed away at exactly 10 minutes past 3 p.m. on the 8th of September, 2022. Sadly, William, Harry, and some other royals did not arrive before the Queen passed. But the royals knew of her passing before the world knew, except for Harry, who couldn't be reached before the news was released. Her funeral procession lasted for 11 days, with hundreds of thousands of people filing past her coffin while she lay in state. Then, after a committal service at St. George's Chapel, Windsor Castle, she was laid to rest with her husband, Philip, in the King George VI Memorial Chapel on the 19th of September, 2022. A new king, Prince Charles has always received close media attention from a young age. When he was mature enough to marry, he married Diana. Diana was from a noble family with a close relationship with the royal family, so their matchmaking did not surprise many. Then, when she was 20 years old, she was engaged to Prince Charles. At the time, Princess Diana subsequently resided at Buckingham Palace until the wedding. Their wedding was later held at St. Paul's Cathedral, which offered more seating than Westminster Abbey. The service was widely described as a fairy tale wedding. It was watched globally with an audience of 750 million people. At the same time, 600,000 spectators lined the streets to catch a glimpse of the couple en route to the ceremony. The royal family loved and accepted her, especially the late Queen Elizabeth. Within a few years of the wedding, the Queen extended Diana visible tokens of membership in the royal family, lending her the Queen Mary's Lover's Knot tiara and granting her the badge of the Royal Family Order of Elizabeth II. Diana always felt lonely in her marriage because Prince Charles was always there and seemed to show that he wasn't in love with her. When she was pregnant with her first son, she almost lost the baby when she intentionally threw herself down the staircase because she felt inadequate. However, the unborn baby was uninjured and was later delivered in 1982. After her first pregnancy, she subsequently suffered from postpartum depression. Media criticism struck the new mother. Then, she took baby William on her first major tours of Australia and New Zealand, which were popularly applauded. 2 years later, she gave birth to her second son, Harry. When she was pregnant with Harry, her relationship with Charles was closer than during her first pregnancy. Princess Diana gave her sons wider experiences than usual for royal children. She wanted them to not just know the reality of the world outside the royal walls, but also to understand that millions of people out there don't have the privilege they had and that they should always support these people. Additionally, she chose their first given names, dismissed a royal family nanny and engaged one of her choosing, selected their schools and clothing, planned their outings, and took them to school herself as often as her schedule permitted. She also organized her public duties around their timetables. Diana was reported to have described Harry as naughty, just like me, and William as my little wise old man, whom she started to rely on as her confidant by his early teens. 3 years later, Prince Charles and Princess Diana's incompatibility and age difference became visible and damaged their relationship. In 1986, she began dating James Hewitt, the royal family's riding instructor. On the other hand, Prince Charles already had a mistress, Camilla Shand. Prince Charles and Princess Diana's relationship became more sour as they began to show a cold attitude toward each other. Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip expressed their disappointment toward their respective extramarital affairs and even tried to mend their relationship, but it was unsuccessful. The couple became even more estranged and bitter toward each other. 10 years later, they finalized their divorce. However, 1 year after their divorce, Princess Diana lost her life in a car accident. Prince Charles wasn't exactly the media's favorite throughout this whole scandal. It took a wrong turn when Princess Diana passed away, but after some time, the criticism faded. Afterward, in 2005, Prince Charles proposed to Camilla Parker Bowles, formerly Camilla Shand, the same Camilla he had an affair with years back. The backlash after his engagement announcement was tremendous. All the negative views about Camilla sprouted, and Princess Diana was again remembered. The royal family didn't accept their marriage, so the service was held at St. George's Chapel, making their wedding civil rather than royal. The Queen or even Camilla's parents did not attend this marriage ceremony. However, Queen Elizabeth had a reception for them at Windsor Castle after their wedding. Camilla was appointed Duchess of Cornwall instead of Princess of Wales, as it should have been. Although the Queen extended visible tokens of membership in the royal family to Camilla and lent her the Greville tiara, she was not accepted into the royal family's inner circle. Then came Queen Elizabeth's passing in 2022 and the coronation of King Charles in the same year. As usual, she was given the title Queen Consort, and all efforts to bear the title Queen instead of Queen Consort proved not. The senior royal family members, especially Prince William and Princess Anne, never accepted her into the royal family. Kate Middleton, married to Prince William, received more acceptance and love from the royal family and the citizens alike. Unlike Queen Consort Camilla, Kate Middleton was named Princess of Wales upon her marriage to Prince William, Prince of Wales. She is not best friends with her stepmother-in-law, but they have quite a civil relationship. Loved by all because of her grace, charity work, and demeanor, Queen Consort Camilla was always compared with the Princess of Wales. Even as Queen Consort, Princess Kate's prestige overshadows her reign. this prestige also became more favorable to Prince William, overshadowing his father's reign. Today, Queen Consort Camilla still strives to be accepted in the royal family, but it doesn't seem like something that will ever change now or soon. Her bad image has caused negative effects, which can be perceived in how the citizens view King Charles. Is the strained relationship between Prince William and Queen Camilla the reason he has to convince them to accept the late Queen Mother's will? Why don't they want to accept it? Stay tuned for more details. Britain today, in 2024, King Charles was diagnosed with cancer. He was just treating a separate illness some months before his diagnosis, only to receive another shocking health news at 75 years old. Advised by his doctors, the monarch postponed public-facing duties, undertaking state business and official paperwork while undergoing treatment. His decision to disclose his health update was to avoid speculations and to assist the public in understanding the health issues that cancer incurs in all cancer patients around the world. He disclosed his diagnosis to his family members before it went public. However, with his outpatient treatments at the time, he stepped away from royal engagements without certainty of his return. However, he still received red boxes of documents that needed his attention. 1 year later, there hasn't been an update on the monarch's health progress, so it is under the assumption that he is still treating cancer. After his coronation, he once hinted at his intention to hand it over to Prince William, but today, it seems the monarch's reign will be lasting. However, Prince William has been referred to as Britain's new rock. Although he isn't Britain's king yet, he hasn't hesitated in stepping up to the duties of the royal members, especially during the tough cancer year. He went through when his wife, Kate Middleton, was diagnosed with cancer as well as his father. He took up most of the challenge and stepped in even after his brother left the royal family. His persistence was recognized and appreciated, and he earned the reverence of Britain's new rock. Compared to his grandmother, the beloved late Queen Elizabeth, he was often referred to as her reincarnation. King Charles was crowned king, but Prince William overshadowed his reign. The masses favored Prince William over the king. This stemmed from King Charles's love scandals with Queen Consort Camilla, which eventually led to the exit of the late Princess Diana. Additionally, his wife's well-earned prestige added to the British citizens' love for Prince William amid all the controversy and public disapproval when presented most times that the Princess of Wales had a major chance of rising to the throne as the Queen of England, of course, with Prince William as King of England soon. However, reports suggest that the reigning King of England and his Queen are currently refraining from giving Middleton any advice about her prospects of rising to the throne. King Charles and Princess Kate bonded for some time, especially during their shared battle with cancer. However, it's not enough for King Charles to encourage such prospects just yet, although he has been impressed with her grace and grit for a long time, which made him appoint her with the royal title of Royal Companion of Honor. He acknowledges her ability to carry the name of the royal family forward at the highest levels. This leap of faith by King Charles is nowhere close to him advising or assisting the princess on the matters of a future Queen of the UK. That move only ignited the concept that he may not be there for long, and King Charles wants to remain on the throne for as long as he can. This is also why Queen Consort Camilla has not yet felt the need to speak with Princess Kate about what it is like to become Queen of England and why King Charles intends to adhere to the sacred British traditions beloved Queen Elizabeth most treasured. After Queen Elizabeth's passing, she left behind some assets, including estates, horses, bonds, and investments, which her children, including King Charles, inherited. King Charles inherited her treasured horses. The royal family has a deep connection to horses, and the late Queen was no exception. So her stables had different species of well-trained horses. These horses are her most valued possessions, not because of their worth, but because of her love for the animals and the connection these horses share with the royal heritage. As a child, Elizabeth was given her first horse, a Shetland pony named Peggy, at age 4, which she had been riding by age 6. The pony was a gift from her grandfather, George V. When she turned 18, she was an accomplished rider and continued to ride for pleasure into her 90s. She continued to ride and owned dozens of thoroughbred horses along the line. During her role as a monarch, Queen Elizabeth owned many thoroughbred horses for use in racing, having initially inherited the breeding and racing stock of her late father, King George VI, in 1952. Until the late 1960s, she raced her own bred stock as well as horses bred by the National Stud. Her registered racing colors, as worn by the jockeys riding her racehorses, are the same as those used by her father and great-grandfather, King Edward VII, a purple scarlet jacket with gold braiding and a black cap. As of 2013, horses owned by the Queen won over 1,600 races, and excluding the Epsom Derby, they have won all the British Classic races, some multiple times. Between 2007 and 2022, 41 horses that raced in the royal colours were gifted to Queen Elizabeth. After the Queen's demise, her horses were inherited by her heir and successor, King Charles III, and the new king had his first winner, Just Fine, at Leicester in October 2022. It was announced later that month that the king was to sell 14 of the late Queen's horses, including his first winner, Just Fine, and the Queen's last winner, Love Affairs. Within a few weeks, Charles sold 30 of the nearly 100 thoroughbred horses he had inherited from his mother. It was estimated that Charles had realized just over £2.25 million by selling some of the horses. This all stemmed from the fact that he didn't have the same passion for equestrianism as his mother. So in 2022, Queen Consort Camilla took over the royal stables. To make things even worse, she sold more horses, but Princess Anne caught her and reprimanded her. Princess Anne explained that she had no right to sell the royal horses as it wasn't in her place to do so. Princess Anne was livid when she found out that Queen Camilla sold these horses only to purchase new ones exclusively for the family's use. So she restricted Queen Camilla's travels and temporarily banned her from the palace. She also took ownership of the remaining prized horses, caring for them herself. This caused a rift between Queen Consort Camilla and Princess Anne, which wasn't a surprise because the Queen Consort had never been on good terms with the king's immediate family members. How bad could it get? Don't go anywhere. We still have a will to reveal. Royal Princess Anne has always criticized Queen Consort Camilla's antics and maintained the principles once established by Queen Elizabeth. Known to uphold the traditions and heritage of Britain in all her endeavors, she never hesitates to put the Queen Consort in her place when a case arises. Born in 1950 as the second child of Princess Elizabeth, she grew up like every other royal child in Buckingham Palace. Later, she joined the Girl Guides Company, which helped her socialize better, especially with girls her age. Afterward, she enrolled at Benenden School, where she studied for 5 years, graduating with 6 GCE O-levels and 2 A-levels. It was after high school that she began to undertake royal engagements at the age of 18. 1 year later, she dated Andrew Parker Bowles, who married Camilla Shand. Camilla Shand later married King Charles, Princess Anne's older brother, so the rift was inevitable. Nonetheless, Princess Anne inherited a passion for equestrianism like her mother, unlike her older brother. She started riding at a young age, and by the age of 21, she had already won a championship and competed with the British eventing team for over 5 years. She won a silver medal in individual and team disciplines in the 1975 European Eventing Championship the following year. She participated in the 1976 Olympic Games in Montreal as a member of the British team, riding the Queen's horse, Goodwill, in eventing. Recalling the game later, she stated that she couldn't recall making the rest of the jumps because she had a concussion halfway through the course and had to remount to finish the event. Then, the British team had to pull out of the event because 2 of their horses were injured. Over the years, she hasn't stopped horse riding. She was once the patron of the Riding for the Disabled Association in 1971 but became the president 14 years later, a position she still holds today. Additionally, 1 year ago, she was taken to the Southmea Hospital with minor injuries and a concussion, which was believed to be caused by an impact on a horse's leg or head. After months of healing, she went back to the hospital to appreciate the timely treatment and care they gave her during the incident. In 1968, she married Mark Phillips, a lieutenant in the 1st Queen's Dragoon Guards. Like her, he was a horse lover, and the duo had a harmonious marriage for 21 years. They had 2 children and 5 grandchildren, but in 1992, they announced their intention to separate. They had fallen out of love, were rarely seen in public together, and were romantically linked with other people at the time. They separated and announced that although they were separated and had shared custody of their children, they had no plans for divorce. It wasn't until 1992 that Anne filed for a divorce, which was finalized 10 days later. Meanwhile, Anne had already met Timothy Lawrence, a commander in the Royal Navy. She had started a relationship with him when she separated from her first husband. Then, in 1992, the same year she finalized her divorce from Mark, she married Timothy in Scotland with fewer guests attending. The Church of Scotland wedded the couple. The Church of Scotland didn't consider marriage a binding sacrament like the Church of England, so the remarriage of divorced persons was permitted but under certain circumstances. This event made Princess Anne the first royal divorcee to remarry since Princess Victoria Melita of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. Due to her strong adherence to traditions, she has been called the royal family's trustiest anchor. She has also been called a beacon of good and old-fashioned public service due to her long list of over 20,000 engagements since her 18th birthday. In her early adulthood, she was cited as a royal renegade for choosing to forego titles for her children despite being the second in line to the throne. The media often called her aloof and nicknamed her the Royal Rudeness because of her reputation for having a sharp tongue. Just like her father, she has been frequently named the hardest-working royal and even carried out 18,000 engagements between 2002 and 2022, more than any other royal family member had done. She is both a protocol taskmaster and an occasional rule breaker. She insists on doing her hair and makeup herself, drives herself to engagements, doesn't shake hands with the public during walkabouts, and queues up for the poorloos at her daughter's horse competitions. She exhibits aloof behavior yet maintains an impressive level of grace and courtesy. When asked twice in 10 years if she would retire, she always denies any plans for that. Additionally, she has been the president of Save the Children UK since 1970. This was the first major charity with which she became closely associated. Although it took her more courage and time to join it, Save the Children UK has given her vast insight into the needs of children globally and helped her understand the issues affecting third-world countries. In her work for the organization, Princess Anne has visited Save the Children projects in many countries, including China, Cambodia, Botswana, Madagascar, and the Philippines. However, this charity is not the only one she is involved with. She is involved with over 300 charities, organizations, and military regiments in the United Kingdom and overseas, and she devotes a large part of her working life to official visits. 2 notable charities she's involved with include the Princess Royal Trust for Carers, Transed, and Riders for Health. The former supports the millions of individuals in the United Kingdom who care for someone, while the latter tries to overcome some of the difficulties caused by poor transportation links in developing countries. Victim Support is another noteworthy charity presided over by the Princess Royal. Founded in Bristol by a group of activists who felt victims were being forgotten by the criminal justice system in Wales and England, today, the charity helps over 140,000 people every year who have been victimized and impacted by mistreatment, fraud, hate crime, and other offenses, as well as supporting the bereaved of murder and manslaughter cases. Now, back to the beloved Queen Elizabeth's will. Like every royal member who has passed away, Queen Elizabeth's will is to be sealed and can only be unsealed 90 years after her passing by the Royal Archives. It is to be read to her descendants who remain alive or available at the time of the reading, and only then can the said contents or wishes be carried out. Nonetheless, her grandson, Prince William, who intends to change the monarchy into a more modernized institution, plans to carry out his late grandmother's last wishes before the 90-year mandate. As absurd as it may sound, his intentions have been clear from the start. Since his coronation as the first in line to the throne, changing the monarchy and century-old rules has been at the top of his list. However, his plans for a new Britain could also be his grandmother's wish. Although she never directly supported the view of New Britain due to her neutral political position throughout her reign, her speeches and actions showed some of her perspectives on modernity. She exhibited her willingness to embrace change and adapt the monarchy to the changing times. Her utmost interest and high value for the Commonwealth exhibited her eagerness for the unity of nations. She also valued service and duty to the public and emphasized that New Britain should be built on these values. And what better way to build on these values than by following the evolution they have undergone? Additionally, the late Queen Elizabeth may have embraced modernity, but she also valued the heritage and traditions the nation was built on. New Britain can tweak some ancient traditions that plague the nation's growth, but removing those traditions entirely should not be allowed. Although it is not entirely impossible to carry out and uphold, it won't be easy to adhere strictly to. Growing up with the ups and downs that led to his mother's demise dozens of years back, Prince William's close relationship with his grandmother was inevitable. So personally, being influenced by or even perceiving his grandmother's true wishes and last will for Britain is also a no-brainer. Therefore, his views and intentions today for Britain align with those wishes, but with an emphasis on removing some traditions that hinder progress. Under this mission, Britain has practiced monarchy since the Middle Ages. Power has remained an inheritance for centuries regardless of the level of competence, because every royal child is trained for his or her future reign. Hence, King Charles III, being one of the senior members of the royal family who adheres strictly to these traditions, refuses to join his son's mission for New Britain. Another intention of Prince William is to reveal Queen Elizabeth's will, which goes against the nation's traditions. This act would widen the rift existing in the royal family, especially if the contents turn into an unexpected play of events. Aside from her written wishes, her assets, especially the behemoth estate, were to remain the same. It is already confusing within the family. King Charles knew that his plan for running Britain and that of his son, and possibly his mother, took different paths, and he surely wouldn't want this unsealed, at least until after his reign. Also, the reveal of the late Queen's will remains a rumor, as all royal wills remain sealed for almost a century. Does Prince William have to beg for his late grandmother's wishes to be fulfilled? Share your opinions in the comments. Before you leave, like and subscribe to our channel. You can also watch our other videos displayed on your screen.